Everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel's Finding Value. Today we're going to be doing our daily technical analysis for commodities, work our way through the dollar yields, precious metals, commodities, ETFs that I follow. If you need any help with anything, check out finding-value.com. I think this might be the last day or tomorrow's the last day. However, I can't remember how the cutoff date of the discount that we've got Turkey going on. So let's dive in here. Let's take a look, see what we've got going on in the markets right now, and I'll give you my financial opinions. So we've got the DXY. We are flat today for the most part, but the momentum is still slightly to the downside. I don't see any squeezing patterns. I don't see anything like that. So I still think that there is pressure to the downside that could be applied. And we do have support where this white line is still ahead of us a little ways away. I'm just noticing a pattern here too. It's very similar. This pattern here is the same pattern that we're getting in a lot of oil companies, just staring at that thing. So the 2-year down 2% today. Big impulse move lower after this squeezing up into a bearish engulfing there. We had the breakout here, the retest there. This is working out quite beautifully. Now, are we going to get a bounce in the short term? Don't expect these things to just fall straight to the downside. You might get these things to bounce back up and then roll back over and head lower. So again, the momentum's to the downside. We'll see if we get a little bit of a bounce here or sideways action out of the 2-year yield. Now, yields dropping like this. I see the 10-year is down too. It's going to be a good tailwind behind precious metals. If this continues to beeline lower, that could be a signal that something is slowing in the market and people are running to safety. So keep an eye on that as well. The 10-year yield down a little bit. We were down 1.5%. Now we've got some room to go lower if it decides to go lower, which I think it looks like it wants to go lower. We could even go all the way back down here as a possibility. So it looks like we could see further downside in the 10-year. And then the 30-year also heading lower today. But we are coming up on a support level, which is this level right here. We've got a little bit of support there. It may pause there, and we'll have to look and see where we're going to go from that support line. If we pause there and get a big bearish engulfing, we're going to head lower. If we come back, pause there, and then we get a big bullish engulfing, a lot of the times that wants to move to the upside. And what that would be is a false breakout. But it's too early to tell exactly if that's the case at this time. And I do see a lot of false breakouts like that where it reverses and moves higher from a falling wedge. TYX TNX ratio basically flat today, down 0.11%. But again, this is generally a good area when we're compressed like this to look at gold and silver and some of the mining companies. Bond prices moving on up today. There we are, and we're coming up against resistance, a strong resistance, up at about 93.64 is what I'm getting here. 93.64. We're at 92.63 right now. Another dollar higher. Then we want to evaluate, is this a bottoming pattern, or are we going to roll back over as we hit our head on that resistance? Don't know yet. Don't know yet. Gold is liking the weaker dollar and weaker yields. So we've got momentum here. It's starting to build. We were up $25 an ounce today, and it looks pretty solid. So let's see if that, momentum's to the upside. Let's see if we can keep this thing rolling. Silver up about 2%, about 50 cents roughly. And we are breaking that big long-term downtrend line. Now keep in mind, it may or may not go straight higher. We might get a retest move before heading on up. Retest move could go to 25, 24.50, something on the lines of that. And it doesn't have to do that. So I'm just telling you it's a possibility. It's looking good. We've broken the big long-term downtrend line. That's the first step. Now we want to stay above it, and then we're going to rip if we stay above. Platinum down a little bit, about 11 bucks. Still looks good to go higher in my opinion. And I think we're going to eventually work our way higher. Palladium down a little bit more, $33. Now this is kind of the oddball where we might bounce around here a little bit, move sideways for a while, and then start to rip it when the overall markets start to rip it. Think of palladium, platinum being real sensitive to car manufacturing. And I know that defaults and all that stuff look really bad right now. Car sales have really slowed down. And that's generally when you want to buy these things. And these are all back at support levels. There's the support level that we're looking at. So that's looking good. XAU to gold ratio, we are down a little bit in the ratio. So again, we're right at resistance and we're feeling that resistance. That's why we were down a little bit today is my guess. We're just hitting our head on it. And if the momentum in the physical metals continues, I think this momentum will continue. And eventually we will break out of this big, long downtrend line. That's what we really want to break. And it looks good for potential double bottom here and a break higher to the upside. So let's hope that money flows roll into this sector, to the gold and silver mining companies, and really start to push this on up. The CRB index up slightly today, up 0.65%. It does look like we're trying to break through this downtrend line and move on up. What does that mean? It means oil could look pretty good here. Oil's looking pretty good. And if we break out of this commodity, CRB index, we could be off to the races. And that's looking better. It's looking good. CRB to S&P 500 also looking good today, breaking out of the falling wedge. This is looking constructive for a potential move higher in the CRB index and outperformance against the S&P 500. We are coming from very low levels with a long, long, long runway ahead of us still. We're still early in this commodities move against S&P 500. GDX, although we were up today, we've got a little down day today. What is that called? It's called a bloody nose. I call it a bloody nose. It's a tall guy with a little bloody, little red candlestick. It's a profit-taking day. That generally is a continuation pattern to the upside. This is a big flag pattern. The projected move of that flag pattern is the flag in the front of it. So you could say it's something on the lines that looks something like this. Not the time frame, but maybe we get to 60 bucks or something. Something on the lines of that. But it looks good. GDXJ peeking that head out a little bit from the downtrend line. And we got a little day today. I think we're going to continue higher. I think it's a continuation pattern. And we'll move on up. It doesn't mean that we can't fall back down and do a retest before moving higher. But we are starting to break out of the downtrend line here. And if we break above this resistance here too, you can see a long way to the upside. This looks pretty dang good. SILJ also looking good, up 0.21%. We're just still below the downtrend line. Oil up 1.7%. We've broken the downtrend line, big buying volume, small selling pressure. To me, it looks like we still want to move higher and that this is starting to look like an inverted shoulder, head, shoulder. That's what I'm talking about, baby. There we go. So here's the shoulder one, the head, and the shoulder. Break it. Let's break it here, boys. Little downtrend pattern. That would be from this peak to the downtrend to the inverted head and shoulders, the breakout of the neckline if we get the breakout of the neckline. That's looking good for crude oil. TTF gas down 6.85%. I know the weather is strongly influencing this, and we could see further downside in net gas, depending on the weather. And that's right at support. Nat gas in America also down a little bit, about 1.5%, and we are slightly below support, but we're at longer term support levels with all this trading here. So P, yeah, you know me, getting a little bit of selling pressure here. Which way are you gonna go, buddy? Which way are you gonna go? We're still underneath the neckline. There's the neckline there. There's our inverted head and shoulders. Are we gonna do another loop here or something like that? It's possible. I'm not seeing a ton of strength out of XOP or OIH at this current moment, and we don't have a lot of reversal patterns here. We've got one stronger candlestick that gapped down and came back up, but there's nothing here that screams that there's some strength and it's ready just to explode to the upside yet. Be patient and let's wait for those candles, and maybe they're just waiting on oil and or nat gas to strengthen further, I should say. OIH, this could be doing a retest here. This doesn't look that bad. We kind of fumbled out of this falling wedge and we're sitting on top of support. So the buyers could come in at any time. That's what I'm hoping for to see and push us on up. Raw Physical Uranium Trust, a little bit more selling pressure today, but we're back to support and we'll see if the support line holds. If it doesn't, we're going to be heading down a little bit in the short term. Get a little bit more selling pressure for URA. Looks like we're a lot more selling pressure, down 3.36. We'll see if that continues tomorrow or if we get a bounce at this support level that we're basically at. But it's a pretty strong candlestick today. To me, it looks like we could see a little bit further downside if the sellers want to push it here. URNM also getting strong selling pressure along with URNJ, and they finished quite strong. So to me, it looks like we could see further downside pressure in the short term for uranium. Pan, still looking good to go higher. Still looking good to go higher. We've broken the downtrend line, and it's consolidating right there, and I think we're going to head on up. The OPX down 0.8%. And that's a bloody nose above support. I still think sideways to higher is where we're going. It still looks good. We also have a downtrend line. I'll put it here just as that has been broken. Lithium still looking all right. It's hanging in there. I think we are still ready to go higher. We've broken the downtrend line and broken. REMX in the same exact position. Right at support, broken downtrend line. To me, it looks like we go sideways to higher. S&P 500. Let me see a NASDAQ here. These could be reversal patterns, and we could head lower with these. What they are is they gapped higher and then sold off throughout the day. That's a trick that a lot of the big boys do. They gap it up pre-market, get people all ginned up on an up day, and then sell into that buying pressure. Create a reversal candlestick. And that's what this looks like. It's a gap higher here, then a sell-off throughout the day. So it could mean that we are about to go lower in the S&P and in the NASDAQ. It could be reversal candlestick. So we'll see what the follow through looks like tomorrow. Same with the NASDAQ, same thing. KRE looking a little bit better. We popped higher, a little bit of a wick at the top. Not too much momentum, but still looks good to go higher for KRE. Emerging markets, still above support. Everything still looks good. Not much selling pressure. I still think we're going to go higher. XHB also trying to pop out of this. This could be a false breakout, though. We could maybe reverse this thing. But again, I don't have the data to say that at this time. Depending on what the S&P and the NASDAQ do, if they go lower, this could drag XHB and KRE down as well. MOO just moving sideways, still looks good to go higher. I look at this as kind of like a falling wedge, flag pattern, however you want to look at it. Copper above support, which is good, and that still looks good to go higher. You might get a return move before that occurs, though. Iron ore down a little bit, but still looks good. Momentum's to the upside. I would say higher still for iron ore. Aluminum still within the range bound of resistance and support, just moving sideways. Baltic Dry Index looking good, up 6%, and we are smoking to the upside. The projected move here is 4,700-ish. uh, level or area. We still have about a double to go if it were to meet that criteria. Newcastle coal flat. I like it where it's at though. It's right on support. Bitcoin sideways, down 0.19%, right at resistance still, and we'll see if we can get a clear break here. And Ethereum still above support. I think that still looks fantastic for a move higher. We're still above support. The only way you'll get me to change my mind is if this were to break that support level. So that's what I've got for today, guys. Give me a thumb up for the content. Subscribe to the channel. We've got a midweek update being released here shortly. I still have to do it. I'll put that on the website. Look for it soon. And for the most part, I think crude oil looks good. Gold and silver look fantastic. Uranium getting a little bit of selling pressure today, and it finished quite strong, so we could see further downside. Momentum's definitely to the downside there. Copper's still hanging in, looking good. Iron ore looks good. Baltic Dry Index looks good. Most of the sectors look pretty good. So that's what I've got for today, guys. We'll catch you next time. This is Finding Value.